Dr. Jim Anderson. Thank you very much, sir.
Syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV/AIDS, or genital warts. So when I say these things to you, what comes to your mind? I would argue, based on the maturity of the audience that I am currently addressing, high school health probably comes back to mind, right? When was the last time you ever had a discussion about those topics? Ick! That's just gross, right? Yeah, well, you know. So, I mean, I'm not sure if anyone's ever told this to you, but let me share it with you now. And I don't really care if you're actively dating or if you're involved in a committed relationship, because I think the message is the same. You need to understand that anytime you sleep with somebody, you're really sleeping with everybody that they've ever slept with. That bed gets pretty full pretty quick, doesn't it? Because there's a lot of people there, potentially. I mean, maybe not a lot of people, but there's more than just two, right? So, what do we know about sexually transmitted diseases? Well, first off, we don't talk about them. When we talk about the cold, we talk about the flu, we talk about breast cancer, but we sure as heck don't have little sit-around groups saying, you know, what's the story on syphilis? Is that still around? Because I heard it's bad. So what do we know about these sexually transmitted diseases? Well, we know that sort of like, I think gonorrhea and syphilis are treatable diseases, right? I believe there's something that you can get that'll take care of that. We know HIV/AIDS is currently not treatable, but we also know there's a lot of very talented people working at doing something about that. And God's honest truth, I don't know what the story is on genital warts. It might be treatable, or maybe it's just something you sort of live with. There's another one that you can get that's with you forever and ever. It's escaping me. What is it? Herpes. That's it. Thank you very much. Herpes, you get it, you got it. But the neat thing about herpes is it doesn't show up all the time. I think you just have eruptions once in a while, so you got to back off at that point. But anyway. But the reason that we're having this discussion today is because there's something you probably haven't talked about or heard about. And it's called HPV. And HPV has been around a long time, but the discussion about it has only been in the last few years. So HPV joins the ranks of sexually transmitted diseases, okay? You can catch it vaginally, anally, or orally, okay? And HPV is a nasty little bugger because it'll show up and you won't know that you have it. Those other sort of unmentionable diseases generally have a physical manifestation. Skin does strange things, itching shows up, all that sort of stuff. They're not comfortable. HPV hangs out in the background and doesn't do anything, which is why it's so deadly. Okay? What's the problem with HPV? It's another virus. Catch them. Well, we got viruses all the time. So the problem with HPV is that it causes cancer. Okay? And where HPV really gets you is when you catch it orally, because it can cause a whole manner of oral cancers. I have a friend who's no young kid. He's probably about 60, and he just probably about 9 months ago got diagnosed with throat cancer. Throat cancer? How do you get throat cancer? Guess what? At some point in time in his past, he probably got exposed to HPV, and it hung out obviously for a very long time. And then in his 60s, he got diagnosed with throat cancer. And he had to go through the chemo and all the treatments and all. He's doing fine now. Thank you. But who knew? Right? This is not something that we're sort of equipped to deal with and stuff like that. So, if you don't want to catch HPV, what can you do? Well, good news. There's some auspicious drugs you can take. Specifically, there's 3 rounds of injections that your doctor can give you that will make you immune to most HPV viruses. In the US, roughly 30,000 people a year catch or exposed to the HPV virus. The inoculation that you can get would take care of 28,000 of those cases. Okay? So this is sort of a new sort of thing, and people, as a society, we're still sort of trying to. We had people dying from bizarre cancers, throat cancers, mouth cancers, all that, and we didn't really know why. Now we started to understand that a lot of those cases aren't caused by chewing tobacco. Rather, it's because somebody caught HPV from a partner. It laid in their system for a period of time, and then it manifested itself as some bizarre form of cancer that they had to deal with and stuff like that. So we can get inoculated, and I have 3 children. All 3 of my children have been inoculated against it, which means 2 things. First off, they can't catch it, and secondly, probably more important for society, they can't pass it on. Okay? As a parent, I don't want my children to be sexually active. However, my children cannot catch, and my children cannot pass on. So independent of what I do, I've at least stopped it from my household point of view. Where things get interesting, and this is where the real discussion is starting to show up, is it turns out that the medical professionals who are probably best situated to have discussions with us about HPV are dentists. They spend the most time in our mouth. They check us out, inspect us. You know, dentists can inspect for an additional fee. They'll check you out for cancer, right? It's like, yeah, whatever. You're just trying to get. Well, it turns out it's actually sort of important, right? So, and it's interesting because in the dental profession, they're not set up to have human sexuality discussions with their patients. And they're especially not set up to have discussions with the people who need it to hear it the most, who are their younger patients. And they really need to have discussions with the mothers who bring the patients in, because they need to get those kids inoculated so that HPV isn't a problem in the future. So the dental profession is currently going through a lot of hand-wringing on this particular issue, trying to figure out what their responsibility is and what they need to do going forward. So what's important for you is that you're aware that HPV exists. If you are Tindering, dating, you might want to have a talk with your doctor about getting the HPV inoculation so that you can't catch or pass it on. And if you have children, or if you know people who have children, I would highly recommend that you have a discussion with them about making sure that they get their children inoculated so that they'll be safe for a long time to come. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Job well done.
You sure it's just a mom to take the kids to the doctor?
Yeah, pretty much. That's all.
I do have a question for you about that HPV.